Hi, welcome back to News of America. Today we will be talking about Japanese internment camps. December 7th, 1941, the day that shook the country to its core. That was the day that an airstrike was made by the Japanese Imperial Navy on Pearl Harbor. This attack left the country scared and paranoid. This paranoia led to the feelings that immigrants of America, especially Japanese immigrants, were untrustworthy even if they were citizens. Many people thought the Japanese Americans would be loyal to their country of origin. This attitude eventually led to the order made by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, which established Japanese American internment camps.
In internment camps, families were separated and isolated into camps scattered mostly along the west coast. It affected over 117,000 people, most of which were American citizens. Many people thought that the camps were necessary, but others saw the inhuman conditions that the citizens were being forced to live in.
Although most games were outlawed, there was one game that the camp guards allowed. The Japanese found baseball to be a good distraction for the pain they endured in their days in the camps. They eventually got out by signing their loyalty to the U.S. later in 1988. Ronald Reagan provided a $120,000 payment to all of the Japanese internment survivors as a part of the Civil Rights Act. In this segment of the News of America, we will be interviewing citizens to see what they think about this situation.
Hi, Mr. Smythe. I was just wondering if you were, what your personal opinion is on the Japanese internment camps.
So I think it's a shameful part of our history, and I read a little bit of a nonfiction, an account of somebody who lived in it, Farewell to Manzanar, and I was actually shocked because I don't think I must have been paying attention in school when this topic was covered, or it wasn't covered enough in depth.
All right. How do you think this ignored civil and constitutional rights for Japanese Americans?
Well, at the time, a lot of these Japanese that were rounded up were actually naturalized or citizens, so the fact that you are gathered up from your own country and made out to be criminals or foreigners, so I'm sure was very shocking and dismaying to them. So I think that obviously violated their civil rights.
Absolutely. Do you think this could happen in today's modern government or society?
I do. If fear-mongering continues, I think that there are many groups that are being targeted that people become fearful of because they don't understand or they don't know about them.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that was necessary for something to happen in that day?
I think that is a very tricky thing to answer, if it was necessary. I'm not exactly sure how in that day and age you would have determined who was a danger or not, but I think since many had lived in neighborhoods for decades and had contributed to American society, I don't think they should have been rounded up.
Mm-hmm. Also, some people compare it to like a very harsh version of the Holocaust. Would you go to that extent of comparing it to that?
No, because I'm pretty certain that we didn't kill them.
Agreed, yeah. And what do you think the purpose of these camps are for for the government's purposes?
Also, on the last question, there was not a systematically trying to erase them from the earth. It was containing them out of fear. At least that's my understanding. And what was your? I'm sorry.
What do you think the government's purpose was by doing this?
I think it was just trying to keep people in one place that they felt could possibly do harm, or be linked to those that wanted to do harm.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Do you happen to be familiar with the Japanese internment camps during World War II?
Yes, very familiar.
What is your personal opinion on the camps?
I think the Japanese internment camps were just based on fear. So fear of another attack, fear of a different culture, and so I think it violated their constitutional rights. Many of these are American citizens, and being taken against their will and forced into camps, unconstitutional.
How did this ignore civil and constitutional rights?
Well, these people, are American citizens and they deserve the same rights as everyone else. They had done nothing wrong, committed no crimes, but yet they were taken against their will. They had to leave their homes and their businesses, forced into camps where they couldn't leave, crammed into crowded barracks. So all of these are a violation of their rights.
And then could this happen in today's modern society?
I seriously doubt that this would happen again, at least I would hope not. However, anything's possible, especially if, we were in wartime again. People's emotions get high and they tend to do crazy things, but I hope it would never happen again.
Was it necessary?
No, I think these were innocent people. These weren't soldiers or criminals, so it was not necessary at all.
Okay. And what do you think the purpose of these camps were?
I think the purpose was to address a fear of there might be another attack, they might try to infiltrate our government or whatever. So I think it was to, ease their fears. Hey, we've locked them up, they're behind fences, so they're not going to do any damage to us. That was their goal.
Okay, that's it.
Cool.
Do you happen to be familiar with the Japanese internment camps during World War II?
A little bit.
Okay. What was your personal opinion on these camps?
Hold on. Sorry. Who's gonna see this?
Mrs. Berger.
Mrs. Berger. Okay. I have mixed feelings about the internment of the Japanese during World War II. I think that from the country's standpoint, as far as safety, I understand it, and I even somewhat agree with it. But I also have a hard time putting myself in that situation, and if I was in that situation, I would be very much against it. So I have mixed feelings.
And how did this ignore civil and constitutional rights?
Well, during times of war, civil rights are left up to the government, and that's been in our history, and so I honestly can't say that civil rights were infringed upon, because it's the right of our government to do what it needs to do to protect the nation.
And could this happen in today's modern society?
I do believe that if there's a president that would do it, Donald Trump would do it. I do. And honestly, that might be something that would be necessary for the safety of our country, with what we are dealing with at the border, and the way that people that are illegally crossing the border are put into, you could say they're kind of put into those kinds of camps. But if it's for the safety of our nation, I would support it.
And what do you think the purpose of these camps were?
I think the purpose of these camps was the safety of everyone. I think it was also a way to show force, in that we will do what we need to do to protect our nation, and if you're going to attack us, then we will take care of you.
Good job.
I think the Japanese internment camps weren't a good thing, because they had to live under these conditions just because of their race. It's just not fair.
I think that the internment camps was not only bad, but it was unnecessary, because they were arresting people because of their race, which is what we fought against for years before.
I think it stripped people of their constitutional rights and their civil rights.
I believe that was very hypocritical, because yes, we were trying to protect our country, but we were also arresting innocent citizens that had lived there their whole lives. So
In general, I believe that we had to do what we had to do after Pearl Harbor and retaliate in some sort of manner. However, I feel like that isolating our own citizens will never be the answer for a democracy such as America.